Welcome back, everyone, to the Tron podcast. This is your host, Rashad Woods. On the West Coast, we have a very multi-talented musician, artist, has been very ingrained in the music industry for the last 10 years and has toured worldwide, Mr. Dylan Garcia. Thank you very much, sir. Outside of right in California for us.
How you doing, my man? Thank you for having me, Rashad.
Good. I got a chance to go on YouTube and listen to some of your music, man. I really like this. First of all, I love the way the visuals are. I've been to California, San Diego, and I love your outdoor, and how things were, particularly in that video, Vulnerable, when you were in like the desert with the woman and you were really talking about vulnerability. It's really harmonic, and the way the videos are shot are really incredible, to be quite honest with you.
Thank you. I try to be really intricate when it comes to deciding what kind of video I want to do. I've worked with several different people that do videos. Everyone always brings like their own like G spot to it, like sure. you want this type of video, this is probably who you're best with. You want this type of video. And the guy that shot this video, he's from back in my hometown in Oxnard, which is about an hour north of along the coast. And he's like the go-to guy for like Chicano rap and like all the gangster stuff and the tattoos and all that stuff, man. All the gangster stuff that he's the go-to guy to shoot all those videos. Yeah. And I shot a video with him back in November of 2021, and we hadn't shot since then. But that's 4 years ago, and. To link back up, you obviously know 4 years of more experience from the dope video we did already. And I said, hey, man, I moved out here to Coachella Valley out by Palm Springs. I'm about 30 minutes from Palm Springs. Beautiful. I said, I got something, because I'm pretty sure between all that gangster stuff, you want to show some of your artistic side, right? As an artist, right? As a video guy, as a creator. Yeah. And he had mentioned before, because we were going to shoot another video the year prior out here in the desert, but plans fell through. And weather didn't turn out good that day, because desert weather can be really shifty at times, really quick.
Oh, for sure. I can only imagine.
This is how much I'll charge you. I would love to come. I've never been out there. I'd love to come check it out. Because if you live in California, everyone's heard of Palm Springs. It's just a matter if you ever made it out here before.
Got it.
The Palm Springs is the Coachella Valley is what we call it out here. It's a beautiful area, man. We're surrounded by palm trees and mountains. Wonderful. I mean, it's 105 degrees today, but before I jumped on, man, I just took a quick dip in the pool to get my mind right.
Yeah. You know what I found fascinating about you was, like, I always saw upbeatness in your videos, right? There was always a positive message. And I was like, well, maybe his Instagram is more serious. And it was like, no, it's all about positivity. And one of the quotes I absolutely love when I went on your Instagram page was the plate analogy when it came to like somebody coming over for a meal, right? And it was like, they come to eat, but they don't actually bring anything to it. And that applies to the arts. That applies I do martial arts, right? So it's still an art, even if it's different from yours, right? But you still have to give something in order to participate. You can't just be a taker in life and in your circle and in your way of life. So how did that analogy really play itself out, whether it's through music and whether through your life?
Well, to continue from our conversation prior to we hopped on, this is something that I heard from E.T. E.T. down in the deep. Yeah. It was so like hit me so hard. I'm like, man, he's got so many nuggets that it'll make you really think about stuff. And it made me think about, man, I've been doing this music thing for a long time. It's like when I first started that, like from when it was just when I bought a guitar back in college and just trying to teach myself and write songs, to when I actually was like, hey, maybe I could do this, after everyone telling me I can't do this, like I could do it. And, I always try to carry people with me, and it's because I'm a nice person. I'm a good person. Right. And if somebody's going to ask me for help, I'm going to try to help them, any way that I can. But in this music business, man, it's the people that I've tried to help, will be takers the first opportunity, or you realize right off the bat, like after the first meeting, like, oh, they're only here for themselves. And when I've tried to make it like a communal thing where everybody can win,
right?
It's like, and this is especially with the rap game, because I've done, I'm a blend between rap and funk and
reggae
R&B.
and funk, yeah. Yep.
But everyone's so worried about having that top spot, not realizing there's so much to go around for everyone. Like we could all be winning together, but it's like, I don't know if I want to do all that, because I got my own thing. And it's like 3 powerful forces coming together. You imagine what we could do
Right.
So many people worried about that. I think it's like that, their ego.
Right. I can only imagine. I can only imagine.
We made some things happen really quick in Orange County. This is when I was doing reggae music. I was doing like
Beautiful.
reggae and like acoustic stuff, played acoustic guitar. And wasn't really social. I mean, Facebook could just barely came out.
I
Instagram,
remember that time. I remember that time.
the
Right.
music
Right.
industry was in shambles because they're just coming out of Napster and trying to figure out, wow, how are we going to make money now? We can't sell CDs. Everyone's
Right.
got scared of the music. Everything was in turmoil. And I even questioned myself, like, man, this is a bad time to be getting in the music, you know?
Right. Right.
And because when I signed my first deal, and when it came to the time to put out the music, there was no business plan. Oh, we'll play some shows and do like, no, dude, what's your business plan? Y'all are a label. You guys got to have a business plan, you know? And
Yeah.
with that being involved, when I saw like everyone can say they have a label, anyone can have a studio, but it's a matter of people are working or partying.
Right.
Because a lot of
Right.
studio, I've worked in big studios where it's just, I mean, you're trying to get work done, but there's people there that have nothing to do with your production, have nothing to do with your music, but they're
Wow.
just hanging out. People wanting to come and hang out all the time because, oh, we're going to go chill at the studio,
Because it's a studio, right? You know what I'm
And
saying?
maybe back then too, it was still widely thrown around because they were coming out of the 2000s, the 2010s, when we had the big mortgage boom. Everyone had money at that time in the early 2000s. Everyone was flipping houses, mortgage, all that. When then all that collapsed,
Right.
you
That
couldn't
one.
be riding around on spinners no more. You just think about it, man. We became that crazy as a society that we had that much money. People were putting spinners even on their chain. Like, you get what I'm saying? Because there was just so much money going around, and then once and all that kind of died out, and then the big money behind it. I
Yeah.
mean, you had to figure out how to be an independent artist, man, and do it on your own,
For
and be
sure.
able to make moves on your own. I think your biggest asset that you can have is if you're a man of many hats, that you can record your own music, especially if you can produce your own music and do everything yourself. You're already one up the game because you just eliminated the producer you got to pay for the
Yeah.
beats.
Right.
You got your own studio. You just eliminated paying for studio time.
Yeah.
And then if you took the time to learn these softwares, or just even learn the
Now
basics
you don't
of
have an
it,
engineer.
you could be making money by using your studio to record other people and bringing in a side hustle. So there's like so many things that people could do. But now at this day and age, man, with social media, now we fast forward, because like I said, man, they weren't selling CDs anymore. They went from making, $15, $20, $25 on a CD.
Yep.
And then they're making them for only, 2 cents. They had so much money. There was just so much money. And then when everything crashed, man, there was like, all there was iTunes and
Yep.
Amazon. Those were the only places you could really get music at that time. So coming from that era, I used to always wonder, man, like up until when I finally really started coming into my groove, but I used to wonder, like, man, this all didn't work out for me, man. I came in at the wrong time, Not only that, but maybe it worked to my benefit. I'm constantly having to evolve, because if I still got that MySpace mentality, you're not going to keep up with what's going on. And what I realized, man, I'm 42 years old, dude.
Same age. Same exact age.
Okay,
Same age.
I got a full-time job. I'm trying to do I got like a label that I got to take control, like my own business that I got to take care of with my record label. Myself as an artist, recording music, having a marketing budget so I can market my stuff. Like, there's so many hats that I'm wearing that it's like, if you're not doing all that, you're either hoping somebody finds you to do that for you, you're paying somebody to do that for you, and you're spending a lot of money. And I've told artists before, like, man, you got to be able to, like people just, it's like it's some kind of luxury, like as if it should just be some kind of luxury being an artist where everyone should cater to you. When it's like, man, and I've had to evolve so I can keep up to what's going on to current day. Like, I'm 43, man. I got to post on social media too. I got,
Well, Well, the thing that, and I didn't mean to cut you off, but like it's like when I started this podcast, like you're either all in, you cannot wish anything in your mind into existence, right? And you can't be afraid to fail. And the thing is about it too is that if you there's two different types of being tired. There's the tired from what you have to do versus what you want to aspire to be. And when you're tired from what you have to do, there's that I'm just going to sit down, chill, watch TV, and decompress and relax. But you have the same mentality where it's like, I want to do this. Like it's like this podcast, I want to do this. So when you fight through the fatigue, you start seeing tangible results. But people, whether they're trying to make music, whether they're trying to do the podcast, you have to put in the work. And just because something became successful later on doesn't mean that that person didn't have a journey that was very quiet for a very long time.
Yeah.
Right. So there's a misconception about success. And that is that you see this movie star on TV and you're like, this person just came out of left field. And they're like, dude, I was acting in plays when there were 10 people in a crowd. Right. Yeah. There are people who are basketball or athletes. They'll be like, man, I was playing in empty gyms. I had nobody to watch me. And it was like either you were all in and you knew what you wanted, or you saw, man, I'm not playing at that JUCO. I'm not playing in that, empty arena. I'm sure in music, you probably encounter people, man, there's nobody here, or there's a small crowd. I'm not doing that. Well, then you're never going to ultimately reach what you want to, because 99% of people had to deal with that exact same thing, including Taylor Swift.
Yeah, just two things you made me that I just thought about right now when what you were speaking. That discipline came from surfing, from boogie boarding.
Okay.
I played baseball, I played football growing up, Pop Warner, played in, high school. Then I just went full-time baseball. I was going to devote everything to baseball, plan on getting a scholarship, doing all that stuff.
Yeah. Right.
At the same time, my family always pushed me. I come from a military family. On my dad's side, they were pushing me to go to West Point. So you got to start that process when you're a sophomore. So I started that process of applying and getting into West Point when I was a sophomore in high school.
Wow.
I got accepted. I got nominated by the congressman. I was good to go. And then they were making an exception. I don't even know if I could say this, man, but the colonel who was like my mentor was like, look, man, you got to get your SAT scores up. And I had taken my SAT, but I couldn't break 1,000. I could only get the 900s. And he said, there was the last test of the year. And it was like, you got to get 1,000 or this is it.
That's yeah, right.
But their minimum was 1,200. He was making an exception because I was just such a well-rounded they wanted, man, it was military time for me. Mm-hmm. And it was something I thought I wanted. It just wasn't on God's path, man, because
for sure.
I got a 990 the last test that I took.
You knew.
I kind of thought they were still going to make an exception. I'm like, I got the congressman, I got everyone pushing for me. And I get the phone call, man, about a month. I'm planning, everything. About a month out is when they start making all arrangements for you to go towards the end of summer to start your boot camp basically out there. Mm-hmm. And they call me like, we have to reject your acceptance. Oh. I had no backup plan really. I applied to San Diego State, but it wasn't like, I had no other, I didn't pursue anything but that. But I'm really glad it happened that way, because in high school, when I'm getting all this military stuff, I'd go to the ocean. Discipline. And I'd go to the ocean. But then fast forward to going to UC Irvine, I didn't go to West Point. I played baseball at the junior college, messed up my shoulder. I was more pissed off that I couldn't go surfing than I was about baseball. I promised myself I was never going to play baseball again. Healed up, transferred to UC Irvine, which is in Newport Beach, so I could still surf. I ended up taking that on discipline where I was going surfing every day before school, regardless of how the waves were good or not.
Wow.
Because then I was like, okay, I want to see what I could do. I really believed in myself. I said, you know what, I'm going to start competing. So I signed up on the pro amateur circuit. So now I'm going to school, I'm working, and then on the weekends, I'm going up and down the California coast.
Beautiful.
Competing. And I tell my dad, I said, Dad, when I was away at college, like there was so much stuff that just little things that I learned growing up was like, you raised us to do things on our own. So it wasn't like I had to, it wasn't like you were calling me at 6:30, waking me up to go to class. Cause I know there's some people, what I saw when I got to college was a bunch of privileged people with too much money. And I wasn't in that situation, man. I had to work.
Yeah.
Go to school. I had the loan. I had to do a lot of stuff to make it happen. So it was do or die, man. And I was the only one to ever do something like this for my family. how am I going to come? I mean, West Point fell through. So what was like, I didn't want to come off like that just fell off and nothing else was going to
Right.
happen. So going to UC Irvine was a big deal, but it taught me so much more discipline. Like, well, because it wasn't like nobody was doing it. It was just like, okay, well, if I surf every day, regardless of the conditions, because I never know what the conditions are going to be of the ocean when I show
But,
up to an event, I'm going to be
but I'm
prepared
going exactly.
for conditions.
Right. Right. It's so funny you mentioned that. I don't know how familiar you are or of a boxing fan you are. So I was listening one time to Andre Ward, and he was talking to Joe Rogan once about
So
Bernard.
G, baby.
Oh,
So
oh my gosh, right? Just incredible. And he was talking about Bernard Hopkins, and he was like, Bernard Hopkins stayed disciplined all the time, even when he wasn't fighting. Oh, and Andre Ward was the same way. It wasn't the discipline that you did during your 6 to 8 week training camp. It was what you were doing when the cameras were off. It's what you were doing when nobody was looking. His quote exactly was, "People like being champion because they like what it brings, but it's not you have to live the Spartan lifestyle to make sure that sustains itself." It's interesting because when you said you were swimming in all conditions, you probably became very successful at it because you were acclimated. And so I just had a quick question. Number one, are you self-taught when it comes to your music? I'm just curious.
yeah, I taught myself to play guitar, man, in college at Irvine. Another when I was surfing because I felt acoustic guitar, reggae, and surfing went hand in hand. And
That's
I bought it.
amazing.
I was pledging a fraternity. I was pledging Kappa Sigma when I got recruited during the met some people. They wanted me to pledge, doing the whole thing.
Oh
And
yeah, yeah.
then about 9 weeks in, some situations happened that I say, you know what, man, y'all are trying to make me president of the pledge class, but I don't like the way this is going, and I'm the president of the pledge class. I got to look out for my pledge bros, and I don't like the way some stuff came down. So I said, you know what? And it was always kind of weird because I've always been kind of a loner, solo kind of guy. I never always traveled with a group of people, and still the same way to this day that it started becoming too awkward to be around so many people and having the where I had to work and go to school, and I always had a full plate, man, every day. Those years going to college, that I say I can't do this. My Jewish girlfriend dumps me then after that, and then I'm like, man, I'm gonna buy a guitar, man, write sad songs about getting my heart dumped or getting dumped
Oh
and being
my.
heartbroken, and then that's how the guitar journey started, man.
Yeah, I got to tell you, first of all, I'm glad you persevered through all those things, and it looks like you're the type of person that strikes me as, hey, life threw me a curveball. It's time. I know it sounds cliche, but it's like, hey, man, go keep it moving. As long as I got breath in my body, I'm going to make sure that I'm
Yeah,
hustling and grinding to the next thing. And I thought one of the things that fascinated me the most about you was you said you were visiting elderly people when they got out of the hospital, right? So it was like, and when you were quoted, when you were saying, you're like, hey, don't think you're going to be young forever. People didn't just wake up old, right? They didn't just suddenly wake up and they're 75 years old, 70, whatever age they are. The gray hairs start to come in, and you will, if you're fortunate enough, live that long. And it's important that you said you don't live your life with regrets. You don't sit back and hesitate because of embarrassment. One of the reasons I taught myself personally with this podcast was, okay, you're putting yourself out there. And most people are just like, they get in their own head, right? Like, nah, man, what if somebody laughs? What if somebody doesn't, what if I come across as silly and stupid? What if Dylan doesn't like me and I have a bombed interview? And then at some point, you just have to be like, you know what? If I airball the shot, so what? I
yeah.
don't care. I don't care. And it's liberating.
It is, man, because you just keep building. Like, there's a guy named Ed Miley. He calls it compounding, where you're constantly like the water's constantly breaking down that rock in the river. Like
Mm-hmm.
you're constantly. Eventually, like it's just like going to the gym, man. You keep doing it. You're eventually going to see results if you don't give up, man. And I
Right.
think in life, man, we're just chiseling away at this sculpture, bro. We're just chiseling away at this
Absolutely.
sculpture. Parts took longer. Some parts came out really quick. Just like making a song, man. Some songs, man, it had to take me 2 weeks to get done because but then like last night, man, I just did this song. I think it's gonna be my song of the summer. I finished it in like 3 hours. You just never know, man. And that's just like to me, that's just life, man. We're just all sculpting this piece, man, and try to make it as best as we could. Some people are really devoted to it. Some people don't really care if it's polished or tarnished. And
Right.
and one thing I learned at my job was when because doing music, man, I was doing gig work, Walmart deliveries, Sam's Club, Target. I did all of it, man. I finally got in at this medical company, like hit it off with my boss, got in, started working. And just prior to that, I was doing prescription deliveries to hospice patients or like hospice,
Oh my
residential,
goodness. Wow.
residential living centers. So then I got this job, and my boss was like, "You gotta understand, you're gonna be visiting different types of patients. You're gonna go into different, and I'm going throughout the entire desert, man, all the way from the Salton Sea way up. Like, bro, I have like such a big territory that I gotta go and I do some like part for the insurance and the medical group, and I get this just one little thing done that just needs to get done for just their process, and that's all they created my job for. But I see these people, and some people recovering from knees replacement, hip replacements. Some people fell down. Some people are older. I got to see these people. Some people's kids are there taking care of them. And what it made me realize the most, man, and I think God blessed me with this job because I feel like it's a divine assignment. Because sometimes when I show up to go see these people, I could have been the last person that they seen in the last 3, 4, 5 days.
For sure. 150%. Absolutely. No
it's
joke.
like a divine assignment, man. Like, and I realized another thing that I heard. If you start taking, instead of just thinking your job and your paycheck, if you start taking things as if it's a divine assignment, you're going to realize what the assignment is because you're in that position for a reason. It made me, it's been such a blessing for me because it's made me really have a lot of humility for different people's situations. I don't go to fancy. Some people got fancy houses. Some people living way out there in the desert. I mean, lower income places. And it's really taught me a lot of humility, but made me realize that I am getting older.
Absolutely. 100.
You get some people in their 70s, 80s. And what it made me realize, man, the most important thing is to just surround yourself with love, man. Love on your family. Love on your people, because when you get to that point, man, either your people ain't around anymore, and if you still got them around, you hope they're out there helping you,
Right. And the thing is like, I would never have gotten the opportunity to talk to somebody like yourself had we not connected on this platform, right? And so you attract what you put out, right? And so it sounds like a cliche, but there's very easy if you're looking for bad vices and negative energy, it's not going to take hard to attract that because there's so much out there. It just is. You'll naturally gravitate towards it. And so when you see people either A, in that position, or B, trending in that direction, near death's door or recovering from a serious illness or injury, and you look at yourself, you're like, life ain't so bad. And then you start to wake up and say, man, even on it affects every way in your life. And I like the analogy used with the gym. If you're looking for immediate satisfaction and gratification, you won't get it at the gym. You just won't. If I was looking for immediate satisfaction or gratification in music, it's not going to happen. In this podcasting space, it's not going to happen. The gym may take you 2 years to see exactly what you want to see. And you better be willing to go when you don't want to.
And, man, like maybe we see things a lot because we come from we're the same age, we see from the same generation.
Right.
But I'm going to say it, man, a lot of these youngsters, I have a 14-year-old son myself, man, and and they say it goes from generation to generation.
Oh, for sure.
Because from like my dad, my grandpa was a military guy from the Korean War, and then my dad was a tough dude, and I just hope we just don't get too soft.
Oh, no doubt.
As a population, man, that's just we needed some people, but just soft in a matter of won't get down and dirty and do the work that needs to be done where there needs to be done to work on yourself, pay your bills, take care of your family. Because I mean, man, what other grown men do you know, man, that are still whining about this didn't work out for me and this didn't work out for me, and they still can't pick themselves up and they're still telling the same story.
Well, I agree.
I was dealing with mental health stuff ever since my early 20s.
I was going to touch on that.
So, and throughout my 20s, man, I was navigating this without ever telling anybody something was going on. Like I was having these episodes where my mind would go off kilter, bro, go to another distorted version of reality. And I would just kind of roll with it. Just, I don't know how, it was just these crazy episodes, man. Sometimes I get really paranoid. Sometimes it was just these crazy things, man, thinking like people could hear me through the walls, just like stuff that you would hear about somebody that's dealing with something with mental health stuff.
I don't want to cut you off too, but it's not like we came from a generation, since we're the same age, that this was like normal to seek treatment for. I mean, dude, if anything between the mid 80s, 90s, mid 2000s, there was not like, hey, I really truly have something going on and I need assistance with it. It was for this is a disrespect to our parents' generation. They're like, dude, go outside and play, or figure it. It was a quote unquote figure it out. there's just now been in the last 8 to 10 years, like, hey, we have a large neglected group of people who all they needed was help, sit down and talk with somebody, verbalize what's going on, and then get an understanding to get where the place they were coming from. And mental health has finally somewhat been a word that doesn't have a stigma attached to it.
Yeah. See,
Before,
so
yeah,
in '09, so these whole 20s are going on, and I'm having these episodes, but they would go away on their own. And I'd be able to, I was like so tapped into my mind powerfully that I'd be able to like talk myself out of these great, like it was just such a trip. And I'm just thinking like everyone else's mind would go through this stuff too. I
right,
didn't talk
right.
about it, didn't tell anybody.
I mean,
Um,
yeah,
and then, so I'm in Orange County. The guy finds my music. 6 months later, I'm working in the studio, sign a record deal, producers, the whole thing. But then my mental health was at its. All this is great stuff is going on, but my mental health is at its worst. Like I'm bugged out. And this is what tripped me out at that time. Like, how was I able to still be able to function to do all this stuff? Like to show up, go to the studio, write music. But it's just, I don't know, man. I think like us creatives and that can tap into this. I try not to see it as a negative, but it's another source that we could tap into that sometimes we just need to keep it under control. And how I was able to function. So it all came to its head. I signed the record deal. I cut these records. Now I'm wandering in Orange County with just my dog. And
wow,
I had only known my son's mom maybe like 3 weeks. This is before my son was born. And I
yeah,
went from like cool dude in 3 weeks to like, man, this guy's just literally lost his mind. Like this guy's not in touch with
oh my God,
reality. Ended up getting hospitalized. She finds me, takes me, ended up getting hospitalized. And then it was kind of like, I still didn't realize I was so out of touch with reality. I didn't even realize. I thought I was like at some rehab. I didn't know where I was. I didn't know
yeah,
where I was. I was that gone.
yeah,
And, finally I get medicated and then I wake up and it's like, after they give me this injection, I wake up and it's like, wait a minute, this is what's been going on for years.
years,
And
right.
now I got an answer that something that I thought was wrong was something was really wrong. I wasn't just crazy, but not
Just
just
right. It's not just in your head. You had an actual condition. You had an actual
fine.
discernible condition, right? And it
To 2009, so it's like, they're saying the word mental illness. It wasn't even mental health yet. It was mental illness. So then that just scared people. Like,
right.
so then my parents wanted to just assume that I was doing something with drugs or something that was making this. But it's like, this has been going on for like 8 years. We're talking years, right?
And
Almost a whole decade. And it just finally got to the point where I couldn't deal with it no more. And luckily, the circumstances happened that I finally got, for the grace of God, that I got hospitalized, got medicated. And then it was a long journey after that, trying to get back to the work, to even go back to my music career. There's a lot of time, man. I deleted social media. I just kind of slide off the radar. I would just go to the gym and just take care of my health and
yeah,
just live in
yeah,
my own world when you're not connected, like everyone's connected. Sometimes I felt like I needed to disconnect. But it was around like 2017 when I said, you know what? I feel like I'm capable enough and I feel like I'm confident enough that
yeah.
I'm really gonna give this music thing another
All
100.
in. You're all
So
in.
we're now talking 2025. So we're talking like 8 years since then when I said I was gonna do this again. So we're in another 8 years. But luckily, man, like I advocated to get the right doctors. I advocated to get the right tests, and I advocated to get checked out the right way because a lot of doctors, if your mental health care is coming from the county system now, every state's different.
Right.
You're out there in Michigan, but the system that I went through and depends on whether you live in a low income community. All these factors play into
150%.
the type of care you're going to get. And
Absolutely.
when I finally advocated, man, and it was just because I was going to have my hip replaced, and I asked my surgeon, during pre-op, a couple days before, hey, man, I'm not doing good, with my mental health.
Right, right, right.
We have somebody come see me. And he said, yeah. And I was literally in tears. I said, I'm not getting the help at the clinic back home. Like, man, I'm really losing it. And I'm really trying to get my life good. And this is this is a couple years after I decided to do music again. And that's why I was fighting. Like, nah, man, this is what music. I'm married. I want to do all this stuff. Like, I want to get this stuff done. And sure enough, psychiatrist came in to see me, asked me a couple questions, did like no other psychiatrist, did blood work, came back, tried these meds. And there I'm waking up normal again. Like, for like,
Beautiful.
man, how long was I gone for? And then that moment, My wife and I were still young. We're still married, only like a year and a half, maybe. And it was like I had to make a promise not only to myself and to God, but to my wife too. Like, okay, I'm gonna do everything I can in my power to not fall back to that, not
Right.
fall back and stay
Right.
good.
Right.
And I think when you do that, it's like a superpower, man, because it's like you're doing every little nuance you can to keep yourself good.
Well, not only that though, too, man, you're gonna find that it repels away certain behavior, right? Like if I'm somebody who's looking at your Instagram and I'm following you, watching your videos, and I'm a negative, quote unquote, if I got a sulky demeanor, I'm turning off your videos immediately, right? Because I'm like, "No, why is this guy so happy all the time? Like this isn't the way I'm supposed to be, right? I'm supposed to be. So you made a point of emphasis to make sure that every day mattered, right?
Yeah.
And you're following and pursuing your dream. You're helping people get out of hospice. It could be their last moments. You're touring. You're meeting incredibly talented people in the industries. You're personally and professionally satisfied, still working your way up. And I think that the steps that you've taken, the story that you tell, is not a half an hour interview does a disservice to your full story because there's so much to compress just in that short amount of time. It's amazing. And I love the positive energy you brought out.
And thanks, man, because we've just been flowing. It wasn't like we've just been flowing back and forth, man. And yeah, the time
Yeah.
blown
Yeah.
by really quick.
Yeah, and what I thought was most special too when it came to your videos, man. I love the way you dress, man. Like you're like dressed up, you're like swag, like you got a little swag to you, man. I'm really digging like the circa 1950s kind of Frank Sinatra kind of look, kind of way too. Like
Yeah.
it resonates with your music, like how you with the songs you're putting out too. I'm
Well,
digging.
I mean, I'm out here in the Coachella Valley. Just Frank Sinatra made Palm Springs famous, man, and it's
Yeah,
like, I moved out here because my son's mom,
yeah,
God bless her soul, because she did help me with what she could at that time when I wasn't doing good. Uh, she was from out here, and she brought me for the first time out here back in like 2010. The record producer I was working with, Ronnie King, he's from the Coachella Valley, so it's like I always just was getting pulled out here, and then finally made the move with my wife.
right,
Uh, in 2023, man, I was always coming out here on vacation, always visiting my son,
yeah,
always coming out here all the time. And then it was just like, okay, we need to make it permanent. And
beautiful,
we did. It's been, I mean, you can't really see the surroundings, man, but luckily I got my own little recording studio, my own little slice of paradise, man. I got a view of the palm trees and the
oh,
pool right out my studio, right out my
beautiful,
recording studio balcony. I'm surrounded by mountains. Like I told you, it's going to be 105 today, man. I'm going to
wonderful.
barbecue some ribeyes and hop in and out of the pool, man, and tighten up this new song that I got.
Life is
Definitely
good.
great to start the morning with you.
Yeah.
Rashad, man, good vibes. Rashad from the D.
Hey, real quick, I'm in the D, just so people are aware. Like, I don't want to rep somewhere where I'm not from. I grew up 25 miles around it. It's the metro general area. So I just want to be clear. Like, if anybody
Okay.
says, but yeah, total clarification. Real quick, where can people find Dylan Garcia?
Your best spot is just go to DylanGarciamusic.com. That
All
would
right.
be the easiest. DYLAN GarciaMusic.com. It's got the social media links, all the music links to the videos, links to the documentary that what came out about me. It's
Oh,
got a link for
wonderful.
people that want to book me. And just everything's just right there on that link tree. Also, my Instagram at Dylan Garcia Music. Everything's pretty much at Dylan Garcia Music. I even got a TikTok, man. It's kind of growing.
Nice, nice.
I'm realizing with the four major platforms, I don't really do too LinkedIn. I don't know. Never really tapped into LinkedIn. I tried, but it's
Yeah.
like everyone's corporate and business and
Yeah, it's not right. You'll find out.
nonprofit.
You'll find out what works. Like certain social media platforms are more receptive to based on what you're putting out. It just is. It
But then
just
I never know, man. I'll create content, and it's like, okay, I'm gonna post it on Instagram, share it to my stories. I'm gonna post it on Facebook. I'm gonna share it cool to my stories. Then I'm gonna post it on YouTube Shorts, get it up on YouTube Shorts, and then from YouTube Shorts, then I'm gonna go on TikTok. I did not make that decision until about like maybe 4 months ago. I started deciding that I wanted to take my content game. I wanted to raise the game of my content.
good. Good
And
deal.
once I did that, it's like, okay, I have a different sense of people from every different platform. Like I'll post something on YouTube Shorts of me working out in the gym, a motivational thing, and that just goes
Yeah, yeah.
viral, right? But
Right.
then it doesn't do really anything on Facebook. Why would want to
Exactly.
see the gym, right? But there's other people scrolling YouTube that want to see something motivational, or like with TikTok, it just varies from
It's the
Platform
organic
to
nature.
platform, you never know what's going to hit.
Right, you don't. And the thing is about it, but the one thing that you can control, and I say, what I saw from you is you can control you, right? And so once we get out of that space of our own head, like just a 20-second overview of what I did with this podcast. I have a lot of varying interests. I read, I watch documentaries, and even though I can't play a music note to save my life or can't sing, I've always been fascinated not only about the artists themselves, but the process and the science behind music making, how their instruments created, when was the first instruments, their history of it. I know where my talents lie, and it is not in your field. But I appreciate people who have stories like yours and the history of it, whether it's music sampling, whether it's the shady record deals, record labels, all the intricacies of the world. Because when you only view what's in front of you and you don't see the trees and the life that's around you, you have a very narrow viewpoint of how life in the world really operates. And that's why I'm glad I get a chance to talk to people like yourself, because the world is bigger than my zip code. The world is bigger than the freeway that I drive upon. It's all about the experiences that we share this space together, and we ultimately can tell really good stories.
And you know what, man, that goes out. I wish everyone thought like that, because people would be so much more well-rounded.
Oh, for sure.
And open-minded.
For sure.
People's views and viewpoints and how people live. Part of boogie boarding, I even went to the North Shore of Oahu to go do my thing, line, and go with the big boys. Just like I said, just from trying to get in the water and get away from baseball and the West Point thing, ended up taking me, I go to UC Irvine, competed, then that was the next thing, is you go to the North Shore and go test your cojones. And what I realized, how when you can appreciate and not judge, and you learn how to appreciate the way other people live, man, we wouldn't have so much hatred in this world.
Oh.
Like, I mean, I went from Newport Beach, living right by the beach for that school year, and then taking off to go to the North Shore during the winter. And it was like, man, like, we're on the North Shore. It's not Waikiki. It's country. It's like it's the North Shore. It's just one grocery store and the people that live there. And I mean, you got chickens running around, like, to be able, just like old school. And we had the neighbors that were right where we stayed. They were always outside. They were barbecuing together. It just seemed like they were so tight knit and family community and family oriented. It's like, man, why isn't this translating back home? Like, why isn't this like this everywhere? Maybe it's the Hawaiian culture, island culture, Polynesian culture. But at the same time, for me to see that, coming from a city like Oxnard, mainly Latino, Chicano community, agriculture community, a lot of fields where people go work the strawberries, the vegetable, the fields.
Agriculture, yeah, for sure.
I mean, obviously, we had a gang on each side of town, right? Each side of town had a gang. And it's like, it wasn't a big city. I mean, we're talking like 200, maybe 75,000 people, but it's like every side of town had a gang. And it was just like, I didn't understand it. I still don't understand it to this day. I guess it dates back, but why our own people got to be killing each other, never made no sense to me. And, I just wish that, people would get out of their hometown. If you get a chance, man, don't just take a trip to Vegas. Like, go somewhere else, man. Go see how other people live.
Right.
And what I did, not only that, but going out there, I was going to be out there for 45 days. I might as well immerse myself in it. And I did when I was out there in Hawaii. And I had the most beautiful time, even though I found out, man, Mexicans in the Pacific Ocean on the North Shore, man, I went way beyond my league. I almost drowned, ripped up my knee on the reef.
But you do it all again. But you do it all.
I would, man. And to be able to do that, so I was only 21 years. Man, you'd never, and I always did that. My parents never agreed why I would always do these trips and go here and do this, because you're never going to get that time back.
No,
and you could plan forever, and you could keep planning, and that planning time would just pass you by. You never end up doing something that you're planning.
Yeah, and I'll leave you with that, because what's funny is you could end up being the talker about what you're talking about, what you're going to do, rather than you did what you wanted to do. So it's all about more moves and less announcements in life, right? So you're just gonna do it, or you ain't gonna do it, and there's no little area where they're ever gonna meet up and it's like me with this podcast. Either you're gonna do it, or it's just gonna die in the back of my mind. That's it, and there's no middle ground to it. And so,
like my boy told me, man, my personal coach told me, I'm just getting ready to get ready.
It's like you got the gym bag in the car, you got the sweatpants on, and then all of a sudden you go eat the ice cream and you sit on the couch and go to sleep. Like, man, you got all that for nothing. So it's all about, like I always say now, today was tomorrow. Today is tomorrow.
Yeah.
When I said I'm going to do that tomorrow, no, that's today. So
Yeah.
you gotta find the time to do what you want to do, because you know what I mean. Like, to your point, life is short. So all I have to say is, Dylan Garcia, I wish this conversation could go on forever, because I love picking your brain.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And that's real. You know what I mean? And so for me to get a chance to talk to you, I mean, 4 months ago, before this podcast came out, I didn't give a chance to talk to somebody like you. But because I took the risk and got out of my shell and got out of my own head, I have the honor to be able to talk to somebody successful yourself. So I really appreciate you for that.
And you know what, man? I just want to say to you, man, good job for sticking with it. And
Thank you.
You're pretty good at what you do.
Oh, man, thank you. Listen, man, I appreciate you. And like I said, this is the Tron podcast with Dylan Garcia. I'm sure I'll be seeing you up on billboards and up with the stars, sir. Appreciate you.
Take care, Rashad.
You too, bro.